know the conversation about black actors in America and black British actors. A lot of Americans are saying British actors are taking their roles. The conversation started more or less with Samuel L. Jackson. If you remember a couple of years ago, the film Get Out, done by Jordan Peele, starring Daniel Kaluuya from the UK. Questions about his edition and the fact that, you know, Samuel was saying he believes an American could have taken that role and added nuance to it. So I wanted to get into a conversation about this, you know, perception that black actors in America are being purposely or just overlooked for roles from a few British actors that have managed to get into some of these roles, right? When it comes to the British actors, I think the reason why they get roles is because when they get into the auditions, right? When they get there, I think they just do something that is required for the directors. They do what's required. I don't think anything is so untoward when it comes to the reasons per se, because I think with everything, you need to assess the sort of style you want for a film. You need to assess the style of character that you believe is best placed for this film. That's not to say Americans aren't, but I think the British guys, when they've come in, they've just managed to do something different. Jordan Peele was looking for an American, but when he hired Daniel, it was because he blew him away, right? He did an audition, came in and gave something, I believe, different. Now, I also think American directors also would want to look at their international audience, you know, and consider them, and also look at it from a perspective of this guy is from the UK, or he's from, let's just say he's from any other country, but let's just say he's not from America. He's able to provide a way in the way he acts that is different. He can maybe do different accents. And yes, there's conversations about his or British actors and their training. I would say that is part of it. I wouldn't say it's particularly based on the fact that their background is, you know, more expansive than an American's background, because most of the American actors, from what I've seen, they have training at a certain level and standard as well. So I think a lot of the time British actors, sometimes it's like how the modeling world was over the years. Remember the days when Alec Weck, female runway model, she's very dark, right? Very dark skin, nice, smooth skin. She became like the face of having dark skinned women after her. Now, there was also Iman, and there was also obviously Naomi Campbell, but I'm talking about a particular look, right? That was considered different. Alec Weck opened them doors, which enabled so many other female models to have a chance, you know? So I just think sometimes directors go through moments. It goes through moments of saying, this is the way, because one or two gave us something different. They may kill two birds in one stone with the fact that they can do certain accents, for example, and they get picked. But they get picked based on their ability. So with Samuel's opinion, he believes an American would have given nuance. I think what Daniel did, he gave as much nuance and understanding of the situations that he presented and how he presented it. I think the emotion was strong. I think all of those aspects, he fulfilled it. There's a lot of aspects, I think, to it. But I think just from the acting aspect, sometimes you go through phases and moments where they look at things from a different perspective. And I think that's what some of the British people are bringing when it comes to acting. One of the main reasons why British actors will go abroad to America, lack of opportunities in the UK when it comes to programming and being portrayed in a diverse manner. A lot of the time, you're not seeing an expansive appearance of black actors on TV and film. So they go to America. That's one of the main reasons. A lack of representation on TV and film sets. That's a big thing here as well. Steve McQueen, the director, he mentioned in his words, more or less, saying the TV industry, film industry in this country, in the UK, is racist. He made it clear about some of the issues he's faced in his career, going onto a set or going into casting and seeing it being whitewashed, more or less, right? He has done films and had success in his, career when it comes to films. But in terms of just his experiences, some of the conversations, some of the things he's seen, he's made it clear. So there's also that reason as to why British actors black actors go abroad to America. Any instances of issues that you believe in America you're facing, British actors are facing here too. Lack of opportunity in this country, they go to America. Americans believe there's a lack of opportunity over there. The conversation should revolve around something totally different. But I'll get to that. Even in this article that pops up right now, an American was speaking about the lack of representation on set as well, on TV and film sets. Also mentioning the fact that hair, the hair budget or the hair requirements that was required for some of the actors weren't even taken in consideration properly. People getting burned with hair tongs and not having budgets to produce the things that are required for black actors, specific looks that are required. They didn't have that accounted for. So these are some of the issues that Americans are facing. And also, like I say, the perception here of the UK actors is a lack of opportunity as well. So, and a lack of care. So the boat that you may think you're in America, British actors are in the same boat as well. So there shouldn't be a discrepancy between, in my opinion, British and American actors. There has to be an understanding that at the end of the day, if there's a black actor and they're doing their thing, they're doing their thing. It should be saluted. But American programming, American films do need to look at aspects of how maybe they are not best positioning their actors to be expansive in certain roles, for example, in TV, that can give them a chance in films or be looked at in a favorable manner in films. They used to do that back in the day on the films I grew up on, the films that came on TV, the films that came in cinemas. They used to have moments where actors were readied to be able to be in films. Sidney Poitier, Denzel Washington, Lawrence Fishburne, Wesley Snipes, Lawrence Tate, Will Smith. Like, I can keep going. There were moments in these guys' early careers where if it was on TV, they were able to do roles that stretched them, in my opinion, that had the chance to hone their skills on programming, but not just being in a program. Because today, programming is something that is happening for a lot of black actors, but what types of roles are giving them that expansive position? Films in the 90s and 2000s used to provide actors with a good sort of platform. So even if they're on TV, they can be on TV for years. Many seasons can take place, providing them with a platform to have a chance to get into films. That was one of the big things TV networks did back in the day. You look at a film like Menace to Society, for example, Lawrence Tate, look at that role, then look at him in Love Jones, Dead Presidents, totally different roles. But that ability, in my opinion, was grounded from some of the early things he was doing that gave him the chance to look a certain way to people and say, I think he can be tailored for this. I can think he can be tailored for that. There were roles that made actors be expansive. Wesley Snipes, I have to believe he was in theater when he was coming up. Look at him in New Jack City, Jungle Fever, White Men Can't Jump. Totally different, in my opinion. But his acting skill was like at times he didn't have a script. Do you teach that level of acting? Where am I seeing that, or where are we seeing that today with the new crop? I'm talking about in an expansive manner. That emotion, being able to pick different routes and choose different ways to come across that are believable. Those were the days when American actors, in my opinion, had that standard. The Ryan Coogler's as a director, he's doing his thing. Michael B. Jordan, them two are a duo, right? They're doing their thing. But in terms of just in general, what other actors are being positioned, maybe in programming on TV or in up and coming films or independent films that make them expansive? Themes in the film that challenge them, that challenge the viewer. What is in the ecosystem that works well for up and coming or mid-level actors? I'm not seeing it enough. That really position them in a certain way. But I think the difference is the British, some of them have been positioned in a certain way before they've got their next sort of chance in America. I'm not seeing that enough today. I saw it enough in the 90s. Directors used to, back in the day in America particularly, pinpoint actors to say, you're for this role, you're for that role. I think actors or directors need to start doing that even more. If you believe, or if there's a notion that American actors aren't getting roles, directors need to say, you're cut out for this role. A bit like Denzel in Training Day. Anton Farquhar made it clear, Denzel's the guy. I've tailored a role for this person. It puts them in a different light now, depending on the script writing and depending on, the level of the film and what it's about. But it's all about how you depict it. Once something's specific, it can really be maximized because that person now understands, okay, this is all on you. This is what you are portraying. I'm not seeing that enough in American TV or American films. But the grounding, I use this example of TV, the grounding was the basis to get into films. The programming, first and foremost, was at a certain standard and level. Less PC culture, less worrying about identity politics. Some of the conversations were challenging, so it challenges the actor to appear a certain way. So it depends on what the agenda is sometimes as to why sometimes actors are not positioned in the ways that are required for them to stand out and to actually have chances in films. Back in the day, things were done. It wasn't too much about, what we can't show, what we can't. Today, we're treading on toes, trying to appease different groups. So certain abilities aren't being used to position actors in the ways, black actors in the ways that maybe they should, that show diverse stories that are real to the black community. If you want a black story or stories that black people are fronting, there has to be some realism of what is actually happening. And a lot of the time, I'm not seeing that, but a lot of the time you have to look at it and think it's because you need films that are going to be more or less have a proof of concept of being approved by these big production houses. Because if they're putting money behind it, they want to know that this theme, this concept makes sense based on the times or based on whatever they want to portray for whatever reasons. But sometimes that kind of hinders creativity because you're not being as expansive. You're just doing it because you're trying to appease to certain things and groups. That hinders creativity. It hinders the acting. But once you are putting it under boundaries of, can we show this? Can we do this? Who are we going to offend here? Are we going to? That's when there's a problem. That wasn't like that in the 90s and 2000s. When Spike Lee was doing films, he did do the right thing. Look at the actors he was picking for films, specifics. You've got to look at how directors were doing things back in the day to how things have changed, in my opinion, today. I think things have changed dramatically based on the times we're in. And the times we're in is more about identity and appeasing and just trying to not do things from an original, realistic, real standpoint. New programming today in America is mainly reprising old classics. And a lot of the time, you're not even exceeding the original in terms of quality or getting close to it. Because you remember certain programs that did something to you and you watched it when you were younger. But if you're going to keep reprising stuff and not being as original, how's that making the best platform for the American actors? It's not. It may give them a chance to be in something, but what is it really doing? There's so many actors I know of in America. When I mean know of, I don't know them, but I know they exist. And I think to myself, so what is he doing? What is he doing? What is that person doing? I haven't seen that person for a while. Male actors I'm talking about, and also women actors. They're getting into programs. Oh yeah, if you go onto streaming platforms, they're there. It's just in what capacity and in what light. And for how long do these seasons run? These are the questions. I think the next wave of writers, or the current writers that are coming up, they need to have the chance to be focused on just creating. Focus on making things that are pinpointing actors and actresses that you believe are tailored for a specific role, and then testing them to see if they're able to do it. Writers need to continually keep writing, working with the mid-level up-and-coming actors, short films, independent films. There has to be some concerned effort to portray actors in ways where they're getting back, not to the 90s, because you want to always evolve, but getting back to that real conversation, real themes, pulling actors in all directions so it really shows how good they are, how many things they can depict in one film. Back in the day, even fathers were a thing in programming on TV, in certain films. Black fathers were like a pillar of the community they were looked at. Disciplinarians, those were roles that really gave a chance to black men as well. So there were so many things that you can look at and say, this is a reference point. That is a reference point. And it gives chances for more to come through. So these are all aspects that have to be looked at. If writers have the chance also to work with up-and-coming actors and have themes that they can create and bring out independent films, that will give a chance, especially if the independent film does well, that gives a chance for production houses to reach out. We want to back your other subsequent ideas. but it has to take support from the community, black community over there in America, and just in general to say, you know what, this is what we're supporting. We've heard about it. It's true to life. It's depicting real stories. It's not always about the struggle. It's depicting things that are realistic, and it's teaching. It's providing insight. You know, I remember networks. Again, I'm from the UK, but I do remember networks that had programming that came to this country as well. Networks like UPN. I remember UPN. Obviously, they've got CW Network, but I remember UPN was a home, a hub for black programming that had different types of programming. It gave a chance to build a foundation for potential actors moving into film. And I think that should be one of the main ways. But it has to get to a point where real conversations are had. How are Americans best positioning their actors? That has to be more of a thing. As opposed to British people are taking the jobs. No, British people are being given an opportunity. They're not taking anything. They're just being given it. You have to show more expansiveness. More opportunities have to be given in ways where it's not, you know, safe themes in films or in programs. It has to be stuff that challenge. So it puts them in a different light, like they were doing of yesteryear. This is not new. The main conversation should be about black actors in America, black actors in the UK. There's both challenges on both sides. So there should be no infighting, or there should be no fighting against someone that is already having a similar challenge. It should be about how do you start working the industry that is best placed for how black actors can be portrayed better. What infrastructure or infrastructures are being developed over many years to diversely show black actors and the black stories that Americans claim they want? Are you going to stop continually reprising stuff? Are you going to leave the classic programs alone? Just let them be. And if you're going to do it, make it look a certain way, make it feel a certain way, like how people felt when they were growing up in the 90s or 2000s when they saw certain things. These are the questions. What is the infrastructure of black TV and writers and programming? What's happening there? What is there a togetherness there? Is there a lack of togetherness? Are you just waiting for the big production houses to come and hoping that maybe, okay, as long as we can just get in something and create something that maybe that can be appeasing, we can get in? What are you focusing to build your own from the ground up so you can start creating the themes you want? Or do you just continually just compete for the roles that will come up and let the best man or woman win, irrespective of their background? There's a lot of questions to look at, but I think it has to get to a point where real stories are told, and there should be a lack of focus initially. And I know I know people need to earn money, but there should be a lack of focus initially on trying to make films or programs that are just trying to appease. It should be real conversations, real characters that are relatable, and not just focused on certain aspects to try and get funding, because that's when, in my opinion, you kill creativity. And I think that's where we are, killing creativity, killing real stories. Is that thing going to happen, or is it just going to be a lot of talk about the little roles that you believe are not being had from Americans? I look at it as black is black. It doesn't matter. You're viewed the same if you're British or American. There should be closer understanding that you're in the same sort of, if you claim there's an issue, you're in the same sort of fight. But let me hear what people think. What's your opinion on this? I want to know what your perspective is.